You're not rich and you don't own enough Bitcoin because you don't have enough conviction. You're not putting every single dollar into it and you suck because of that reason. Now that I've properly scared you guys, what's going on, y'all? You're now watching the greatest channel that has ever existed. My name is Bitcoin Benito, and I truly appreciate you guys for being here with me. So yeah, why did I turn into Venom right there for 2 seconds? That's because you guys are not into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as much as you think you are. Yes, you're smart. Yes, you're watching this channel. Yes, you're invested a little bit, kind of, sort of, or maybe even a lot into Bitcoin, but it's not enough. You need to put everything into Bitcoin. You need to put it into the cryptocurrency like your life depends on it, because it kind of sort of does. And this comes with the caveat that I still want you to sell most of it or all of it by the end of 2025 and then get back into it like 2027. But you need to put as much into it as possible right now. If you're not a multimillionaire, notice I didn't say millionaire, right? Because $1 million, that's not that big of a deal. Let's say that you bought a house for $300,000. That's the average price of a house. You bought it like 5-6 years ago, and now it's worth $1 million. That's happened many different places. Yes, your house is worth $1 million, but you still have to pay the mortgage on it every single month for like $6,000 or sorry, for like a $3,000 or something like that. And your net worth is $1 million, blah, blah, blah. But you're still not really that rich. You really don't feel that rich if you live in $1 million house. For example, this bullshit tiny ass house in San Francisco is worth $1.7 million. If you lived in this shitty ass piece of shit, would you feel like you're a multimillionaire or a millionaire, right? So everything is in perspective. You do not own as much things as you think you do, okay? So before I get into reasons why I believe this way, let's read some of the comments from my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. Wouldn't be here without you, okay? First comment that we have is from Dunny Haynes that says, if you ever want your Zen from mint them now. It might cost some now, but at least you have it, and it will never be cheaper than now. I don't guys, you have to proofread your tweets. 1,000x more expensive. Get them now if you have mints. Yes, so actually I don't think that you should do mints right now when it comes to Zen. I think you should just buy as much Zen as possible and then stake it until the end of next year, about September, October of next year. You'll get about a 14-15% ROI on top of the growth of Zen. Or what you could do is you could also put it in liquidity pools, Zen versus Ethereum, because that's the most highly traded Zen pair. If your trading fees are really, really narrow, right? Your trading volume is really narrow. If you set it up the right way, you'll earn something crazy, like maybe 200% on top of that too. But you have to constantly pull it in and out anytime it gets out of that trading range. Okay. Next comment that we have is from Patrick Cole that says, Sol Zen on Solana has to knock 2 more zeros to a penny. That's pretty much saying that it has to do 100x to get to 1 penny. Can it do it? Yeah, probably. I can see that happening. I say that all of these cryptocurrencies are going to do 100x from its all-time low, and Sol Zen is not as all-time low right now, but it could still do 100x from right now, definitely. Mainly because people don't really care about it right now. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure, but we'll see. As soon as my Swift coin hits 1.5 pennies, I have been planning to move about $1,000 into Zen. How is Swift coin doing? Yeah, so Swift coin is worth about 7/10 of a penny. Okay, shout out to you. So Swift coin will definitely get to a penny, or you want it to be a penny and a half. So it just has to do 100% from here. So that could definitely easily happen. Swift coin has been growing unbelievably. Look at that. Swift coin has gone up 356% in the last year, and just in the last month, this is what it looks like. Okay, so Swift coin can definitely grow. Nothing's going to stop that from happening. Good observation. Yeah, that's a good way to look at things. Next comment that we have is from Bradley Ainsworth that says, your thoughts on XLM. Now, XLM is a good coin. It's not as good as the coins that I constantly say that you should get into, such as TitanX, such as OP-Zen and Zen, and such as Pepe coin, and such as Pulsechain, right? Stellar Lumens is doing pretty good, but the other coins that I just listed, wow, look at that explosive growth. That's really cool, right? This is shiny object syndrome. Don't just randomly get into it now, right? So it's just on a 4x in the past month, but its market cap is so massive that it's not really going to grow that much anytime soon. Is market cap, yeah, is market cap did a 4x in 1 month. There's only so many dollars in the world. So yes, this is why you're asking me about this. It's a good coin to get into. It was a great coin to get into a couple of months ago at the beginning of the bull market run, but now it's too big. It from there here on out is gonna do maybe a 3x, 4x at the most. It might do a 5x. Meanwhile, the other tokens that I talk about are gonna do at least a 20x from here. And all of them are going to do like 100x from their all-time low. So it's better to invest into those coins. And then final comment that we have is from Xen Crypto 28 that says only 𝐿𝐻𝐵𝑒𝑡ℎ Xen. Yeah, that's your opinion. 𝐿𝐻𝐵𝑒𝑡ℎ Xen is doing pretty good. Like I said, if you just buy it and you don't try to stake it, that's a good idea. But I still think that OP Xen is better. Okay, so I said that you guys are not heavily into Bitcoin enough. What do I mean by that? Well, there's some coins. I mean, there's a Twitter account that I really like. It's called Bitcoin Teddy. He's a great guy. I follow him. He has 33,000 followers right now. Also, I want you guys to follow me on bitcoinbenito.com. Bitcoinbenito.com. That's my actual name, obviously. And this is what the logo looks like. So you can quickly follow me on there. Really appreciate you guys if you do that. So what we have here is a bunch of people talking about how important Bitcoin is. And we have this comedian here, right here, Dave Smith, that talks about how the regular monetary system, the regular United States dollar or the euro or any other fiat currency that's government controlled is actually a device for evil. It's actually a device to kill people and to cause harm and damage and suffering. And now I'm sure you guys are like, what? How are dollars going to kill people? How do dollars snatch candy from a baby? Well, listen closely. He's going to say exactly why.
The more you learn about money and government control of money, you realize that that is the whole game. Everything else flows from that. Every evil thing that government does is only because they control the money supply. Like, take an evil thing that government does, and I'll explain how it's because they control the money supply, you know?
Okay, let him explain how this is possible.
Like, I mean, just think about, like, okay, we fought, like, a catastrophic 20-year war in Afghanistan that literally killed hundreds of thousands of people, cost trillions of dollars, and thousands of our bravest young boys died, and then tens of thousands committed suicide in the wake of the war, right? Well, just like imagine if they couldn't print the money for that war. Imagine if they had to tax the American people every month for the war in Afghanistan. You think that thing would have lasted 20 years?
No way.
You've been lucky to get it through a year. Before the people would have demanded a result. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so that's actually very true. If they actually had to tax people and they stabilized the value of a dollar, if they had it pegged to the gold standard, and you actually felt the pain, the real pain, immediately as they were spending billions and billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars for this 20-year war, we would cancel the war within like 6 months, a year, right? It would never go on. The only reason why World War II was, everyone reveres World War II, even up to right now, even though it happened 80 years ago, is because it was an actual war that determined the fate of humanity. If Hitler was still around, all of us will be slaves. At least the minorities will all be slaves. And like a lot of white people will be slaves. Like half of white people will be slaves, like gay people and people with mental disabilities and a lot of Russians. They would all be slaves, or they all be indentured service. They would have no rights. You couldn't say anything. But so because of that, it was smart for us to throw the whole kitchen sink at World War II. Afghanistan was nonsense. We went into Afghanistan right after 9/11. Al-Qaeda that was in Afghanistan, a lot of them actually came from Saudi Arabia. How come we didn't attack Saudi Arabia, right? Why did we attack Afghanistan? Just because their training base was in Afghanistan. It was bullshit. It was just a military industrial complex to help a jobs program for the military so that they can therefore make themselves richer. That's all it really was. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine trying to do the lockdowns of 2020 if they couldn't just print trillions of dollars and pass them out. That people wouldn't have taken it. They would have been like, no, we're going back to work. We're not doing this. It's only because.
Yes. So I know hindsight is 2020. So calm down. We didn't know how deadly, or I should say non-deadly, COVID was at the beginning of 2020. But we kind of knew actually after like 3 or 4 months. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, didn't COVID last for like almost 2 years? No, because it only lasted about 2 years because the healthcare industry did not proclaim about how non-deadly it is. The bear bug or whatever, I shouldn't have said the C word because YouTube will demonetize me maybe, and they might try to shadow ban this video. we learned that the death rate is only about 1%, 1 to 2% is about 1%, right? And it was only about 10 times as deadly as the flu. And like, how many people do you know that died from the flu? Not that many. So even if you, or probably none, right? So even if you multiply that number times 10, which is the actual death rate of COVID, it's actually, oops, I said it again. It's actually not even that bad. And the funniest thing is that the average age of death of someone with that disease is higher than the average age of death for everything. So the average age of death was about 81 years old or about 80 years old. And the average age of death in America is about 75, 76. It's been reducing recently because people are a lot more alcoholic due to the lockdowns. People are more lonely, so they have a more self-deletion rate due to the lockdown. But the average age of death was higher. So if you think about it in a non-mathematical way, but actually a mathematical way, you're more likely to live longer and die from from the cult word than from just natural causes, than from everything else.
They control the money that they can get away with tyranny. And listen, like personally, like when I came up as a child of the Ron Paul presidential campaigns. Like that's how I got interested in all this stuff. And Ron Paul would always talk about the gold standard at the time. And don't get me wrong, I think a gold standard would be much, much better than what we have right now. The problem is that historically, what do nations do when they're on a gold standard and they need to fight a war? They just suspend the gold standard. You know? So the difference is that what Bitcoin brings is this decentralization, where if you were truly on a Bitcoin standard, someone in Washington, D.C. couldn't just say, we're going off the Bitcoin standard now. That's the power that Bitcoin has, that you can actually have a chance at separating money in the state. And that is the most important thing in the world to do.
Yeah, so the good thing about Bitcoin is that it removes power from the government. Now, the government should be powerful, right? They should be able to defend itself, use extremely powerful weapons in war and different things like that, have the power to put criminals in jail, all that good stuff. But you shouldn't have unlimited power to the point where you're able to inflate the fiat currency to nothingness and then make everybody else poor and then decide that, oh yeah, in like 2 months, I'm going to pass a law that helps this company. And therefore, I'm going to start investing in this company right now before I pass the law, and then pass the law. And then all of a sudden, this company does a 200% growth in like 2 months. Meanwhile, everyone else has no idea that this is going to happen. Nancy Pelosi, I'm talking to you, right? So let's listen to another tweet from a very smart guy, Andreas Antonopoulos. He's a Bitcoin OG for real. And he's talking about how the government uses regular fiat to control you, to stop you from doing whatever you want to do, to stop you from having an even exchange between your peers. Let's listen.
The problem is we are going to a digital currency society where cash will be gradually eradicated, either through non-use, or a lot of countries and a lot of governments are trying to actively ban it. So they're putting limits on how much you can use cash, say, $1,000, and if it's more than $1,000, using cash is illegal. When we go to the society, we have to really think about the implications. Do we want a society in which our digital money is under complete surveillance and complete control, where if you go to the wrong protest, or if you support the wrong political campaign, or if you make a payment to the wrong person or receive money from the wrong person, suddenly your money disappears. It's no longer yours anymore. It's frozen, it's seized, it's gone.
The crazy thing about this is that this Rogan podcast was recorded in 2016. And the same exact thing that he's talking about with the truckers in Canada happened in 2020 and about 2021, actually. So it happened 5 years after he said this. They froze the bank accounts of people that were just giving food to people that were protesting, that were just acting. They're having their complete, they don't have First Amendment rights in Canada, but they had their rights for the freedom of speech. They were freezing their accounts just for saying the wrong words, just for giving the wrong people the wrong food or food in general, right? And it's nefarious. And he saw it happening 100 years ago. And that's why Bitcoin is so important, because although they can track Bitcoin, there's other ways to for you to exchange between you and other people. And you're able to practice your Fourth Amendment right, which is the right to freedom. Which is the right to privacy, I should say. And the same way you give cash to your bartender, right, for a tip. He's going to talk about that later in this right now. So it's not a nefarious thing. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes you need to do things to hide cash. For example, if you buy a gift for your wife or something and it costs $1,000, you don't want to use a credit card for that because you guys have the same bank statements as you can see. Okay, why were you at Zales a month ago why were you at Zales and you spent $1,000, right? You're supposed to surprise her, right? You're supposed to surprise her. And when you surprise her, you make her happy by you using cash for that $1,000 gift.
And someone has control of that. Corporations, banks, governments, and in most cases, there is no difference between corporation, bank, and government, right? And so that's one scenario. And the other scenario is one in which individuals control their money. And it is digital money, but it's digital cash like Bitcoin, where you can pay an individual from one person to another, just like I can with cash today, without any other party getting involved. What really strikes me as amazing is that we've gotten used to this idea so quickly, which is that we no longer pay people. We no longer pay people directly. The less we use cash, the more we pay people through a corporation, right? So from tipping your valet to tipping your taxi driver to tipping wherever, tipping is pretty much the last remaining part of our society where cash is used to pay from one person who is not an incorporated entity to another person who is not an incorporated entity. Everything else you have to pay through a corporation, whether it's a bank, right? Whether it's Venmo, whether it's PayPal, whether it's any of those things. And we've gradually gotten used to this environment where we can't pay another person unless there's a corporation involved.
Yeah, so that's the crazy part. It's almost like we've gone from grown adults that are completely in control of our lives. We do everything that we want to do. That's the way we were a couple decades ago. But now, in today's time, we've regressed back to childhood, where we have nanny government looking at us all the time. They can pay attention to every single thing that we do. And if you act bad enough, you're not allowed to transact or even have a bank account. That's what I talked about in one of my previous videos. I talked about debanking. So we've regressed back into immaturity as free citizens. And the only people that have remained as adults, as parents, and even have become even stronger, more powerful adults, like mega adults. I wouldn't say grandparents because, they're older and they might be weaker. I'm talking about like more super adult, is the actual government. And this is not a good future for us.
And that's astonishing to me. And as cash disappears, that then becomes a final fact. That every single payment in your life will be from you to a corporation.
And the corporation takes a piece of that, every single thing.
And not just that, it doesn't just take a piece, it also controls and surveils and monitors your use. And if you violate the terms and conditions, you are destitute.
Wow.
So the issue is not what we have today versus the digital currency of the future or Bitcoin or whatever. It's both futures are digital currency, and in both futures, cash will no longer exist. That is inevitable. We are going down that road. And now we have to choose. Do we go to the digital cashless society of corporate control over money with the complete and total merging of corporate and state money, where instead of having separation of state and money, you have the merging of state and money and corporation and money, where your money is branded money. You have Chase dollars, you have Goldman Sachs dollars, you have Coca-Cola dollars, right? You have money that is controlled by a corporation. Or do we go down the other future, where we have money that is basically an internet protocol that is completely global, that any person can pay any person, they meet in the streets without any corporations getting involved, just from me to you, digital cash.
Yeah, so that does sound kind of scary that he's saying that cash is going to go away. But it is going to go away. And now it's not going to completely go away, but it's going to be inflated to the point where it's useless. And it's going to come to a point where you're not able to spend $200 cash without the government knowing exactly what you're spending the $200 cash on right now. Even he said you can spend $1,000 right now cash. It's not true. It's not $1,000, but it's $10,000. But our inflation is growing at 7% a year. So that $10,000 next year will be worth $9,500 or not. Sorry, $9,300. And then the year after that, it'll be worth about $8,400 or something like that, right? So that means that eventually it's going to be worth about $1,000, right? And then eventually it's going to be worth, and then they might just change the law to make it to be like, oh, $1,000 is too much money. We have to make it $500. Imagine not being able to spend $500 and eventually like $200 by using cash. Okay, that's just the world that I do not want to live in. And then finally, let's listen to Michael Saylor, the OG again, who's completely convicted. And this is the real reason why I made the video, because you need to have conviction to get into cryptocurrency. You need to have conviction to get into Bitcoin for this reason. Now, this whole video has been about the government, regulations, privacy, conviction. But I ain't gonna lie. The real reason why I'm doing this is because I want us to make as much money as possible. That's why I say I thank you, I love you, I appreciate you. Let's get this money, right? Because I want to be rich, right? But at the same time, us being rich is really good. That's cool. But another benefit of being rich is that we get to have our own sovereignty. We get to control our own lives. We get to have our own privacy, and nothing can stop us. It's not like we're criminals. We're regular citizens. So we should be able to have freedom. We should be able to do whatever we want to do. So let's listen to what he says. Okay, but what he says from the conviction standpoint, not necessarily the rich standpoint.
What if, so the point really is all of these are simple rules of thumb that allow people to not think for themselves. You're on a ship, the ship is sinking, there's 10 boats in front of you. One of the boats doesn't have a hole in it.
So he's saying that the way the world works right now, the financial world, is that they want you to diversify in like 20 different stocks, diversify into buying homes, but diversify into buying bonds. And then I guess you could put like maybe 2% also into cryptocurrency, 5%. I guess that's good. But what he's saying is that's completely stupid. You should put 100% of your money into Bitcoin right now. If you're crazy enough, what you could do is you could just pay all your bills through credit cards and then use your put it into good cryptocurrencies. Don't put it into stupid meme coins that are nonsense that are going to crash. Put them into high quality cryptocurrencies like the one that I show in my video. Okay, because when they do another 20x from now, 100x from now, you can easily pay off those credit card bills. So those credit cards are going to give you like a 17%, maybe a 30% if you have a really, really terrible credit card. Who cares? 30% is a lot less than 1,000%, than 500%, right? So you're going to do a lot better, right, in just throwing everything into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency right now. It's not really worth it to diversify. And then, of course, you need to sell it at the end of 2025.
Think for themselves. You know, you're on a ship. The ship is sinking. There's 10 boats in front of you. One of the boats doesn't have a hole in it. The other 9 boats have holes in them. You got 10 members in your family. Are you going to put one kid in each of the 9 boats or the like? Or are you going to put everybody in the boat that doesn't have the hole in it?
Okay, so you come to that level of conviction, which is intoxicating, by the way.
It's not conviction. It's not conviction. It's just rational thinking for yourself. Are you moving your entire family to Zimbabwe right now because, you have conviction? Or let me reverse it. Why is it that you don't move your entire family to Zimbabwe, sell all your stuff, and buy the Zimbabwe dollar? Why is it that you don't do that? Because of conviction, or just because it seems quite obvious to you that's not a good idea?
I won't say that conviction is when you don't do something, but when you go all in on something, I would say that does take conviction. Now, your conviction might be...
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
1.
Are you all in on the chair?
I am all in on the chair.
Like the point really is you put on one pair of glasses, you've got one pair of AirPods right now, you're looking at me through one screen, you're using one microphone. That's one microphone. Like, you trust it? Is that conviction? Seems kind of scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? The point really is things in your life. Did you drive in 10?
Yeah, so pretty much what he's saying is that, you only use one microphone. I only use this one microphone. I'm not necessarily going to own 10 different versions of this same microphone, or because this is the best microphone right now, because it's right here, right in front of me. I have it right here. And it's even better for me to use this microphone right now than to go to the store, spend some money on the microphone, have it be about 1% better. This is a really good microphone. It's a Shure microphone, so it's the highest quality. I could find another microphone that's like 1% better, but it'll be a waste of time. You wouldn't be able to get this video as quickly as possible. It's not as good, and I have conviction in this microphone because it's the best thing for me right now, this very second. Okay? So you need to get into Bitcoin. Nothing's going to stop you from getting rich if you get into Bitcoin. And I'm telling you this because I thank you, I love you, I appreciate you. Let's get this money.